Initiating moisture.
I'm a huge fan of the Devil May Cry series. I've played every single game, including 2, and I even like the DMC reboot, and you can hold my 6.5-inch penis, because the game is good. The gameplay is very good in that game, and it's a game that shouldn't be taken seriously, and as long as you don't take it seriously, there's a lot to like about it. With that out of the way, let's look at Devil May Cry 5, the newest entry in the franchise. I really fucking liked it. I liked it a lot, but there are a couple things I didn't like about it, but let's just get into the things I fucking loved about it. I love the style. I always loved the Devil May Cry style. It is so goddamn beautiful to look at, and I love the over-the-top, goofy cutscenes with cheesy moments. Not the dialogue. I think the dialogue is insufferably bad, where it goes from just cheesy to downright embarrassing. To give you an example of that, there's a scene where Nico, who is a new character introduced in the game, picks up a devil part, a dismembered part of a devil, and Nero says, "Do you know where that's been?" To which Nico says, "Up your butt." I mean, like, that's not cheesy. That's not, like, tongue-in-cheek. That's not, like, so bad it's good. That's, holy shit. This makes me want to take a fucking sledgehammer to my PC because I just heard that. It's embarrassing to listen to at points. I know I said I was going to talk about the shit I fucking loved, but then I immediately started talking about the thing I hate the most, which is the awful script in this game. Anyway, I love the visuals in this game. They set up some beautiful set pieces, nice environments, and the cutscenes are glorious. With such goofiness, such over-the-top testosterone badass moment, you know, a fucking van flipping over the goddamn mystery machines, flipping around, Nero's flipping around, shooting demons, fucking farting on demons. It's great. I absolutely love the style. Since I've already brought up the complaint, I'll go ahead and touch on that now. The script. The dialogue in this is insufferably bad. It's not like a self-aware bad, at least it doesn't seem like it, at least not throughout. There are moments that are very clearly self-aware, but like Nico, for example, her entire character is built around awful, awful, awful dialogue. She's my least favorite character in the game, my least favorite character in any game I've played recently. I couldn't stand listening to her. She could have been a cool character. I like what she does with the making the arms, the driving the mystery machine, being like this crazy driver, this loose cannon, a wild card. I like that about her. But every time she spoke, it was embarrassing. Like, I felt like a fucking idiot playing the game. All of the characters just have super shitty dialogue. Another example is V, who's another new character. His entire shtick is reading edgy poetry from a book, and it's always the same poems: ripping, tearing the flesh, the mother earth, the mirth. It's silly, but it's not like the self-aware, fun cheesiness we've come to expect from the Devil May Cry series, where it seems like they know that it's silly, and they want us to know that it's silly, so we're all in on the joke. And here, it feels like we're not in on the joke, and they've committed so far to the joke that it just becomes fucking awful. And that's by far my biggest complaint about the game. It's just an incredibly awful script, horrible dialogue, but there are moments in it that are good. Like, there's some self-aware moments that I think are executed well, such as Dante doing the fucking moonwalk, the entire Michael Jackson routine for like 30 seconds, and then they never touch on that again. It's as if it didn't happen, and it was done so well, and I really like how they played after it. I really enjoyed that. That's when it was self-aware, cheesy, and fun. But that's so few and far between, sandwiched in between this awful fucking dialogue. And then there's this goddamn bird that V has that sounds like Gilbert Gottfried if his nuts got caught in a wood chipper. And his lines are super bad too. Oh, it's just, all the dialogue is just not good. It's really not. And that's the biggest complaint. That's really the only big flaw in this game, because the gameplay, smooth as ass cheeks. The most hairless of ass cheeks. I love it. Each character you play is 3. You get Nero, V, Dante throughout the story. Each one has different little gimmicks, different mechanics. For example, Nero's got the Devil Breaker, and he gets to swap in new arms that have new abilities that you can combo off of and make interesting things happen. He's also got the Exceed gauge, which is when you perfectly time a left trigger input, you can fill it up and get some more powerful attacks, longer attacks. V uses his animals to attack: his panther, his immortal blob of oil, his fucking, it looks like muck as a Pokemon. You get your bird, well, it doesn't look like muck at all. It's just a giant fucking glob of oil. It's invincible. You get a panther, that, and then the bird. And that's cool the way they attack together with the synergy. And then Dante gets to seamlessly switch in between weapons and stances and guns throughout his combo, so it's real flashy. The gameplay is absolutely superb. Perhaps some of the best in the series, honestly. I really enjoyed stringing together a lot of unique combos. Son of Sparta mode was incredibly difficult for me, when usually it was kind of a pushover in the past games, in my opinion. Maybe I'm just rusty at hack and slash, but here I really struggle getting through the game on it, which is a good thing. It's just a really fun game. It's a really, really, really well done hack and slash game. The soundtrack I liked for the most part, but I've honestly got to say, I don't think it was as good as previous entries in the series. It wasn't nearly as memorable. It just fell flat for me in a lot of points. It's not bad by any means. It's nowhere near what I would call bad. But I honestly think DMC Reboot's soundtrack with Combi Christ, I think DMC3's soundtrack, I think both of those are the highlights of the franchise in terms of its sound. I think both of those games have a far superior soundtrack than this game does, though this one's not bad, it just didn't hold a candle to those two classic soundtracks. And I'm not trying to frame this as a negative thing, because it's not. It is a very good soundtrack still. I'm just can't help but be disappointed that it didn't reach the level I was hoping it would. Now, the only actual other complaint I have is narratively, the game's a bit weak. Devil May Cry's never been a game series to me that's had extremely strong narratives. I think it's had strong characters, Virgil and Dante, Trish, Lady. I think they've been strong characters, but narratively, it hasn't been the most sound to me. And in this game, narratively, it's also pretty fucking weak. The ending to this game, I think, is incredibly shitty. I think the game has a super shit, lazy ending that I don't want to spoil anything of, but it's like some super anime cliche shit that I don't really think has a place in the franchise. I really didn't enjoy the ending, and a lot of events leading up to it I didn't care for either. It's not a bad story by any means, but it's definitely not a story that's very good either. It's a very lackluster story, lazy story. Let's go ahead and plug this shit into the moist meter. I'm giving Devil May Cry 5 an 80%. I think it is a very, very, very good hack and slash game that I think most people that are fans of the franchise are already getting. But if you're still on the fence, you absolutely should play it. It's a fucking great game. You might want to play it muted during cutscenes though, so that way you don't accidentally hear some dialogue. That's it. See ya.